thank you very much, Johan. And first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to congratulate and thank Johan Steiger and the Swiss Resource Capital team. The team there has done a fantastic job of identifying resources, great opportunities in these resources, and we buy these resources because we see there's opportunities here for them to go up in value. We buy the different stocks because we see a very exciting opportunity in front of us. Potentially, we're on the verge of a super cycle in commodities. Is anybody in the audience an investor in gold? Just by way of hands. So I congratulate all of you. You've already identified a great opportunity. Smart investors are looking at gold, and not a lot of people in the world are looking at gold. It is an under-invested asset class. And there's a lot of different ways you can invest in gold. You can buy physical gold, as we've minted here, and we'll have a gold coin on a draw, which is very exciting. You can invest in different index funds. You can also invest in different equities, stocks. So Calibre, of course, is a stock. Sometimes they're risky, sometimes they're very rewarding. And for me, I've been doing this over 20 years now. What I look for when I invest in a resource company is a few things. I look at the capital structure. I will look at the team, of course. Has the team been successful in creating wealth for shareholders? And I also look for, in our case, production, but more importantly, is the company investing? Is the company investing in exploration or opportunities for growth? And I think what you'll find here with Calibre is not only a value proposition, you'll find that we're investing in exploration for future growth. When we invest in exploration and we're successful discovering new material, in our case it's gold, a lot of times it has a positive reaction on share prices. So if anybody's been watching the gold market recently, you'll note that it has been increasing. I believe we're at the beginning of a very exciting bull market for gold. We're seeing a lot of different reasons, and the next speaker will talk more about this, but we're seeing a lot of reasons why this is a positive environment for gold. So even today, for example, gold has increased almost $60 an ounce in one day. This is a very exciting time in the gold space. Calibre is a new gold producer. Only a few years ago, we acquired gold production. We've been optimizing and growing our gold production. We've been reinvesting into the assets. We are now a multi-asset, multi-jurisdictional gold producer with what I believe a great value opportunity. Yeah, as you can imagine, I will be making some forward-looking statements, so I'm sure you'd be surprised if I didn't. So, I'm going to keep the presentation fairly light, fairly high level. If anybody is interested to follow up, please feel free to talk to me after the presentation to get into more details. But on a very high level, 3 operations today, and we will be growing the company, growing operations. We, last year, had a very exciting new high-grade discovery. So I think that has great potential to grow beyond what it is today. The team has created a lot of wealth for shareholders. Our last company was, again, a production company that made a significant discovery that went on to merge the company with Kirkland Lake Gold, which had a tremendous trajectory from $6 a share to $70 a share. Our chief executive officer has been an operator and a miner for 30 years at Newmont. One of his core competencies was looking at ways to optimize assets within the Newmont portfolio. When he left Newmont, he was overseeing 15,000 employees, 7 operations. He left there, and now he's CEO here, looking at ways to add additional value and optimize. Calibre raised $100 million in 2019 to acquire this gold production. We have not gone back to market to raise money since. We're self-funding all of our growth. We're self-funding all of our exploration. Today, we have a very clean balance sheet. $60 million in cash, essentially no debt, less than $10 million of debt, and a growing cash portfolio, as you'll see through the presentation. This year, Calibre is producing 250 to 275,000 ounces of gold. So quite a bit different than some of the companies you've seen already here today. We are producing gold. We've got great revenue generation, fantastic margins, and we'll produce the gold this year around an all-in cost of $1,200 an ounce. So as we see today, almost $2,000 an ounce is what gold is selling for, an $800 per ounce margin. So fantastic operating cash flow. And again, what's exciting about our story, in my opinion, is the exploration. We're doing over 100,000 meters initial drill program this year, 60,000 of that in Central America, 40,000 meters in Nevada. So I think this is a great opportunity for discovery, for resource expansion, and increasing value. What we see here is just a few charts showing the value proposition. So we're an enterprise value to ounce of production. On the far left-hand side, you can see Calibre trades at the bottom. This is the opportunity, I believe. Yes, gold price is rising, so all boats will rise, but I think there's an opportunity where people, investors, institutional investors are identifying Calibre as an opportunity because of consistent quarter-over-quarter, year-over-year execution, which is hard to do in the mining space. We always run into issues, whether it be permitting, in this environment with inflation, cost overruns, but every year, Calibre has been delivering on our production and cost outlook. You can see in the middle chart, our operating cash flow, much higher than peer average. On the far right-hand side, consensus gold production. This is why I think this presents a very compelling investment opportunity. I won't go into a lot of details here because there's a lot of text on here, but again, continued execution. Last year, we told the market we would produce about 220 to 230,000 ounces. We hit those numbers. Same with our costs. At the same time, we were able to execute and deliver on key permits. Last year, we said we would get key permits on new mines that feed into our infrastructure. We did that exactly on time and on budget. As a producing company, every year we're depleting the amount of resources or reserves in the portfolio. We're reducing the amount of gold in the ground. So therefore, we have to continue to explore, to find more gold, or acquire additional assets. And that's consistently what we see in the mining space. Last year, Calibre increased reserves at our Nevada asset 23%. And importantly, we increased reserves and grade in Nicaragua to 1.1 million ounces of gold of reserves, 1.35 million ounces of gold in the whole portfolio in reserves. So reserves is the highest category within the classification. Resources would come next. Our overall portfolio resource base in all the assets is over 7 million ounces of gold. So there's great potential for development, and there's great potential for increased reserves. I already talked about the amount of gold we'll be producing this year, and this is all driven by grade, which I'll show. The same volumes of material mined. However, this year, grade is going up. You see that our reserves have increased to 5.4 grams per ton gold on average. This is the chart in the bottom right. So year over year, since we acquired the assets in 2019, we've increased our reserves because of the investment we're putting into the ground. Yet at the same time, we've produced 550,000 ounces of gold. So we started at a small base, as you can see, in 2019 of 280,000 ounces of reserves. We've produced 550, but we've increased reserves and we've increased grade. So grade is very important because as we mine higher grade material, our costs should start to come down, and we would anticipate that over the next few years. Again, great margins, allowing us to add cash to the balance sheet, allowing us to self-fund all of additional mine development, but also all of the exploration, drilling. So today we have 4 drills turning in Nicaragua. We have 2 turning in Nevada. So you'll be seeing consistent news flow on drill results. This is what's also important for investors to follow along and see how the company is developing. The top chart, I think, is also important because year over year, we've consistently executed, but year over year, you're seeing a 10 to 20% increase in production profile. I would anticipate a similar growth profile next year as well. A quick overview of Nicaragua, two mines and two mills, a small mill at our Limon mine and complex, which is filled. We fill that with material now. Excess material we drive down to our Libertad facility, which is a very large 2.2 million ton per annum facility. We only use half of that facility. So our chief executive officer looked at the opportunity and he said, we can haul ore from different areas and gradually increase production. And that's what we've been doing since 2020. So we still have 1 million tons of surplus capacity, and our grade is increasing year over year. This year, we should be mining about 4 to 5 grams per ton gold, giving us about 220 to 230,000 ounces just in Nicaragua. Next year, as I said, our reserve grade is 5.4 grams per ton gold. We should be closer to reserve grade, keeping the volumes the same. Therefore, production goes up again. Costs should start coming down. So we're going to look at an image now and talk a little bit about the exploration potential. This is at Limon, the smaller of the two operations, just as one example of one of the areas that we're drilling to find more gold. And yes, this is a difficult image. It isn't an image that my 6-year-old daughter has painted, but it does look like that, right? I understand that. So what we are is we're in space, looking down on Earth, okay? We're looking at the surface of the Earth here. You can sort of see right in the middle there, that's our mill operation. That's where we process the rock. So in 2021, Calibre flew what's called a geophysical airborne survey to help us, another tool to help us identify where there might be gold. So previous operators did not have this information. In fact, this mine has produced over 3.5 million ounces of gold, dating back to the early 1900s. So one of the best tools is where do you find more gold is generally at a gold mine. And in fact, we're consistently finding more gold year over year that we continue to invest in this asset. But what I just want to highlight here is these contacts. So this is a high-low contact where a vein has been identified. We don't always know if there's gold in it, right? So we have to follow up and do more scientific work and drilling. But you can see from this area here, all the way down to the bottom, past producers along that contact produced 1.3 million ounces of gold. Calibre got in and started drilling. In 2020, identified a new area, discovered a new zone. It's 100,000 ounces at 7 grams, so it's not huge, but we're just starting out. Last year in 2022, we continued along this trend, and we identified a new area, which we call Pantheon North, and we now have 250,000 ounces just in that little area at almost 10 grams per ton gold. So grade is increasing. But what I'm excited about is the full corridor here, all the way up to the top, multiple kilometers of strike length. Then also on the other side, coming down the other side. This is a great opportunity for a company that can self-fund all of their exploration. We have currently 3 rigs turning on that area right now. So there is excellent potential for discovery, delineation, and expansion of reserves and resources. Right in the middle of the page, we have, that's where big open pits are currently being operated. But you can see again, right along this contact, gold has been discovered, gold is being found, and delineated and produced. So we think there's excellent opportunity. That's only one of the properties in the Nicaraguan portfolio. Taking a step back now, we have been very successful operating in Nicaragua. Previous operator, B2 Gold, operated there for over 10 years. We've consistently gone out and acquired additional land packages or mineral concessions to look for upside potential. Now that we have what we call a hub and spoke operation, so different mines feeding into the infrastructure, hauling material to the different infrastructure, no need for big capital. There's no need to put out hundreds of millions of dollars of capital because we have 2 existing mills And one of the mills has over 1 million tons of surplus capacity. So this is going out, exploring, discovering, delineating, and hauling material, permitting, and hauling material to those existing infrastructure. I just had 15 different investors. Actually, Swiss Resource Capital was one of them that came down to our mine sites. They saw the country, they met with the Ministry of Mines, they understand the process. Very good paved Pan-American highways, so very good infrastructure and country to afford us to be able to do all of what we're doing today. But what's important here is we consistently are adding new land packages. So we have over 14,000 square kilometers of mineral concessions. Our scientists and exploration geologists have identified new properties, and this year and next year in the future, we'll continuously advance those in a pipeline and drill a bunch of different targets that could be very exciting and successful. And again, all self-funded. This is the growth potential. I already talked a little bit about this, but only if we mine consistently at 1.7 million tons, you can see that we're going up in production. With the additional surplus capacity, we could grow well beyond 300,000 ounces a year just from our existing assets in Nicaragua. We'll talk a little bit about Nevada, just very briefly. Nevada, we acquired gold production there in last year, 2022. We saw a good opportunity there. It was a smaller 40 to 50,000 ounce a year producer, but not a lot of investment had gone back into that asset. So last year, we spent $8 million. We grew reserves 23%. And importantly, we discovered a new area 3 kilometers away from the existing operation. So we're now doing drilling all the way along this structural corridor because we see good potential for expansion, discovery, and hopefully lead to increased share price performance. We also have an asset in Washington State in the United States. It's 2 million ounces of gold. We've just finished a drill program there. We've identified excellent opportunities for expansion. We're now advancing that project through metallurgical studies to understand what the potential is for that asset as well. So we're not only exploring, producing, we're also looking at the development of additional assets in different jurisdictions. This is the Golden Eagle project in Washington, over 2 million ounces of gold. Infrastructure in the area, not owned by Calibre, owned by Kinross Gold, a large mid-tier senior gold producer. They have a past producing mine and existing mill infrastructure. That's all on care and maintenance. Just a high-level overview of our annual consolidated guidance. So production, costs, exploration outlook for the year, what we're spending. So after all expenses, after all of the $60 million we're spending on growth to grow the business, after all the exploration, at current gold prices, we will end the year well over $100 million in cash if we execute on that full program. So we're self-funding and adding cash to the balance sheet. So that's Calibre Mining. We trade on the TSX under the symbol CXB. Happy to answer any questions afterwards. I know there's another speaker talking, so I stay tuned for that exciting presentation. But I thank you for everyone's time, and I'm excited about the future for gold.